Thanks for being a mom who is into real local food and organic and high dense food, high nutrient dense food. I love to share the story of the farm with you. And so welcome farm members and anyone new who is finding us for the first time. I'm Tessa at Willow Haven Farm, and I'm here in the farm kitchen to tell you what I've been doing with the food, what I'm getting in my box this week, what's out in the field, and some things about how it grows and what you can do with it. We really love helping you build your skills in the kitchen and around your property so that you can build a sustainable life. And what I mean by a sustainable life is one that you can live and that you feel good about, not one where you feel like you're compromising on your values. And a lot of that for us has to do with food and how it's produced. And I'm glad that you're in agreement and that you're here with me and throughout the year as a Market Box Farm member. We have a lot of vegetables because we're organic vegetable growers, and that's what I'm mostly showing you. We also have cows, so I'm going to show you a little bit more about the dairy and what I've been doing in the kitchen. I think you'll find it interesting. And some of you might even want to buy an extra gallon of milk to try your hand at doing some of these things. This week, this is the last of the arugula. So this is going to go on the list of things that you're going to need to say goodbye to for a month or so. If the weather is good in August and it's not too hot and it's not too dry, we'll be able to seed it again. And at some point we'll seed it again for fall arugula, but this is definitely a favorite of mine. Now you can see we've sorted through the arugula, but here's an indication that this is the end of the arugula. So if you see something like this or you ordered arugula, make sure that you use it up right away because it's not going to last long. It's at the end of its life. The cabbages are really fun and exciting. They take a while to grow, so that's why you're getting them in July, although we planted and transplanted these early in the spring because they're cold crops. This one is fun. We grew it for the first time last year. It's called Caraflex. It's a green cabbage that develops a pointy top, so it's just something fun and unique to use and to try. And the red cabbage or the purple cabbage, of course, has a slightly different flavor than green cabbage, and it's beautiful, but you can do all the same things that you like to do with green cabbage with either of these. What I'm going to do with radishes, and we're probably getting near the end of the radishes, these still have decent greens on them, so if you want to use those right away, like I always say, cut off the leaves so that they don't draw the moisture from the root. I am going to make a shredded salad, or maybe those kohlrabi fritters that our farm members have been raving about with dill. So these are going to get shredded today along with all the rest of my kohlrabi, and I'll probably make a salad and some kohlrabi fritters in the next day or two, so I'm excited about that. Now let me show you the onions. These are the red onions, and they just came out of our field this week. Blaze picked them. He picked the biggest ones, so we might have to wait a couple weeks to offer them again, depending on how they're sizing up out in the field. But the difference between a fully mature onion in the field and the scallions that you've been getting. Scallions are green onions. When we use the term green, sometimes we mean that it's slightly immature. So green garlic or green onions are slightly immature version of the full version. Now you can have red scallions, they're just the immature version, and there are seed varieties that develop quicker into green onions, and if you planted the same seed for full-grown onions, they might not do as well, so we plant different varieties. But in general, they're interchangeable. Now, The scallions, because they're immature, you can more easily use the fresh greens, and that's part of the value and the goodness of a scallion. However, when you get the mature onions, you'll see that there's a lot more dried out parts. So the roots are dried out and some of the leaves are dried out. You definitely can use whatever is fresh and usable, but this is how we know that the onions are fully mature and ready to pick, is that the leaves are starting to dry up, die off, and they're gonna flop over onto the ground. Now, these can stay in the ground as long as we want, except for the fact that as it rains, there's the possibility that when they're fully mature, they're not gonna take up the water anymore. They're, in a good way, they're gonna rot or split or things like that. So we try to get them at the right time for you, but we have several weeks to harvest these as some of them are still growing to maturity. We've only picked the biggest ones. Now we have lots of varieties of onions out there, so we'll be picking a different row, picking a different variety, but these are a fresh onion. They're not a storage onion, so they're not meant to have the leaves die off and forever and have this stay in storage for months and months. This is a fresh onion that you want to use in the summer within a few weeks of getting it. And of course, they're great for salads. They're a little bit sweeter, great for salsas, all those fresh, raw, and cooked varieties. Here I have someone coming in, but we're not going to let that bother us in the farm kitchen. The yellow beans here, they're just like green beans, and sometimes they were called wax beans because they were more waxy and shiny, but these are basically a string bean, a green string bean that's been developed into a yellow variety rather than a green variety. So don't be afraid to try them. They add color to whatever dish you're making, because they're different from, and get both. If we offer them, get green and yellow and mix them together, that is a really fun and interesting way of serving them. Now, I just want to give you a little update. I've had my basil on the counter for this whole week, and I'm pretty happy with how it's done. I didn't put it in the refrigerator at all. It's been a hot week. You can see that it did flower while it was on the counter, but I did, partway through the week, I changed the water and I cut the ends off again. So this is actually, that was very successful. And so I'm still using the leaves that are left and they still look pretty good. So that's a nice update. It is berry season. And so you'll see that we offered organic blueberries from our Willow Farm. They're the same farm that offers us the microgreens all winter long. These are, but in my box I have the blackberries and I have the red raspberries. Now growing up, I didn't have blackberries. I read about blackberries, but I only had black raspberries. I'm not exactly sure why, unless I just really didn't notice the difference. But blackberries are bigger and sometimes sweeter. I really like blackberries. I like raspberries too. These are not organic, but they are very local to us, just down the road. What else can I show you? I do have cucumbers, I have broccoli, I have cauliflower, and I have tomatoes. And like I mentioned at the end of last week, I did get some cherry tomatoes from the field as my son brought them in to me, so I know that they're ripening out in the field, and our field tomatoes are going to be ready soon. Those will start appearing. I can never tell you exactly which week because it depends when Farmer Ruben decides that this is the week to pick them. And these are the wonderful early tomatoes that have been growing in our friend's greenhouse. Now, this is how I like to buy my cheese. This is about a 2.5 pound block of the Hilltop Meadow raw cheese. And many of you are economizing, and price is really making a difference to you in your food budgets. And I have a lot of people to feed. So we'll go through this cheese before it starts to mold in the refrigerator. But I love making sure that we have the high quality cheese. We just can't eat the cheese in the grocery store because it's flavorless, and it just has a texture that's weird and gummy because of all the because of fillers, and it's just a whole different process than real raw cheese being made by a small producer from his own cows. So I got the cheddar, and they have molds at the dairy where they make this at Jersey, not Jersey, this is Hilltop Meadow Farm. The molds are 5 pound molds, and they're aged and then packaged. And so for those of you who want to buy it in bulk, we get these 2.5 pound packages for that reason. And I'll cut it into different sections and I'll say to the kids, when this section is gone, that's the cheese for the week. And then I'll let them have the next section for the next week. So you can always do that and portion it out, just slice it yourself. Now, another really fun thing about the milk that comes into the farm from our cows is the abundance of it. We get a lot of milk, and finally Ruben has found outlets for the milk, so we're not wasting as much on the farm. We would love for people to buy more milk and make it into their own butter and their own yogurt and their own cheese, because that makes you more sustainable. If we have extra milk, it goes to our pigs, it goes to the chickens, so it's not getting wasted, but it's such a valuable food that people should be eating. Last week, 2 weeks ago, Vince took some of the extra milk and he cultured it. He skimmed it off, and then he cultured the cream, actually. So then I had a gallon, for extra, I had a gallon jar, imagine one of those big pickle jars, a gallon jar of sour cream. And I was wondering, I'm not going to be able to use all the sour cream until my brain kind of got around the idea after a few days and realized what I could and should be doing with it. So the first thing I did was I poured off some of this nice thick sour cream let me get a spoon and show you. And it's not like the sour cream in the store, because it's not thickened with anything else. It's just thick cream that's cultured, which thickens it through the process of culturing, which is a fermentation. So it's kind of thick like mayonnaise. Dare I refer to that? That's not really a food a lot of times either. And it's just a nice, delicate, sour, creamy flavor. But what was I going to do with all of that? So I finally realized, oh yeah, when I get the cream that skimmed off the milk, what we do is we make butter with it. So I had done that, and I've shown you in previous videos a month or so ago that I was making butter, and this is the butter that I made with the fresh cream. I just had a small amount, and so it was about a small amount of cream for me, right? So it was 14 cups or so. That's 2 mixer loads, and then it forms into this much butter. So this is the sweet cream butter. The cultured cream, I did exactly the same thing. In fact, it whipped up faster because it's a little bit more acidic, and I made about the same amount of butter. So this is cultured probiotic butter, and I've tasted the difference between the two, and I almost can't taste the difference. But this cultured butter is just has a richer flavor. And so when you are buying cultured butter from us, that is not being made here because we aren't able to do that with our setup right now. But you're getting the goodness of that fermentation and that culture, the probiotics, and the butter itself from the milk, from the cream that's on top of the milk and being skimmed off. It's less likely to trigger casein allergy because there's less casein in the cream than there is in the rest of the milk. So people who are actually allergic to milk can often get a lot of benefit by trying and then increasing little by little their intake of cultured butter and getting really good vitamins and minerals from cultured butter, even if they can't drink even raw milk. This wonderful salad that I made, kind of a coleslaw, a variation of a coleslaw. I used some of my sour cream and then when you make the butter, the fat particles become the yellow butter, and then what's left, the white liquid that's left, is the buttermilk. And so I had the cultured buttermilk from my butter making, and to thin down and add flavor, I mixed up the sour cream and the buttermilk, poured this in, stirred it around with salt and pepper, and it's just delicious. And it just goes to show you that when you have real simple ingredients and you're experiencing this with the food that you're getting in your box, real ingredients just have so much flavor that you can do almost nothing with them and have food that is really enjoyable, and that even people who don't love vegetables can really have a good experience with. So this is my Napa cabbage sliced really thin, some kale sliced really thin, which I don't usually throw into salads or eat raw, but I made an exception for this. And then also I sliced up some fennel really thin, and to soften it up a bit, I just simmered it in a pan of hot water for a little bit, and then salted it and cooled it off, and then had that ready, and I threw it in there. I'm using it in salads and different things. And I probably have some sliced up onion in here, and I definitely have some dill. That reminds me of the dill I wanted to show you. So I went out, the dill patch is near the house, and some of it is, there's others that's farther away. And you can see the difference that we've reached a different stage of growing. We're getting what the first couple of weeks when we were offering you dill, none of these stems had grown seed heads yet. So you were just getting all the bunches of the nice green leaves. Now, that like it happens with every vegetable, the stems and the flowers want to grow. So I can go out and still get some fronds of dill to add to that salad, but the flowers and the seeds are developing. And the nice thing is that the flowers still have the dill flavor, and as they mature, the seeds dry, they begin to drop, but we will start to be selling these as dill seed heads rather than as the leaves and the fronds. So when you get these are what you're gonna continue to use for your pickling, not so much for dressings or things unless you really puree them really well, because of course seeds are a little bit tougher. So hopefully you'll find that interesting. And these dill in the field, these are about 4 feet tall, some of the stems. And then lastly, now that I'm turning back and seeing it, I wanted to show you another shortcut of mine for those of you who are cutting costs but still value farm food. When you see bacon ends, We usually are selling them for less per pound than the beautiful sliced bacon. What the butcher does is he makes all the good, perfect slices that he can and packages those up. And then there's always a bit at the end that you can't get through the slicer without taking your fingers off those machines. So the ends all get collected and packaged up. And all you have to do is take these funny, like this is a funny size, a funny shape, but I just take my sharp knife and I slice it up and I fry them in pieces, because you're going to eat them in pieces anyway in a lot of your dishes. You only really need the long slices of bacon if that's how you're going to eat them with your breakfast or something. So that's a tip. I'll probably create a run on bacon ends now, and we won't have any, but that's a good thing because we've just taken pigs to the butcher, and we have a lot more pork, and we have racks and racks of frozen chickens. So we need to make sure that you guys know about that and that you are investing in good, high quality protein from our farm. One of the next things that I'm going to do blog post about at the end of the week is how to use a whole chicken. So make sure that you keep reading and watching everything that I'm sending to you, because you'll get so much value out of it, and it'll help you become much more sustainable, much healthier in your family, and you'll just give more and more good habits and good educated taste buds to your family. All right. Have a great week. I hope to see you at some classes and meet you in person. So stay tuned to register for those. There's lots of information and emails coming out to show you exactly how to do that. All right, bye.